Every parent has been there. The tablet comes out. The baby goes quiet. The crying stops. The fussing stops. And for a few minutes, everyone gets a break. And then comes the guilt. Because every parent has also heard the warnings. Screen time is bad. Screens damage developing brains. Keep your baby away from devices as long as possible. But here is the thing. The science on screen time and babies is more specific, more nuanced, and more useful than either of those positions. It is not as simple as screens are bad. And it is not as simple as screens are fine in moderation. The research points to something much more precise, and once you understand what it actually says, you will never again feel either guilt-free or simply guilty about screens. You will feel informed. And informed is infinitely more useful than guilty. There is a specific thing that matters about screen time for babies. Not the duration. Not the content. Something more fundamental than either of those. And once you know what it is, you will be able to make decisions about screens in your home that are actually grounded in what your baby's developing brain needs. By the end of this, you will know exactly what the research says, what it does not say, and 3 practical things you can do starting today that protect your baby's brain development without making screens the enemy. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends avoiding screen use for children under 18 months except for video chatting. Most parents know this guideline. Far fewer parents know why. And the why is the part that actually changes behavior. The researcher whose work best explains the specific mechanism of concern is Dr. Dmitry Christakis, director of the Center for Child Health, Behavior, and Development at Seattle Children's Research Institute, whose decades of study into early media exposure and brain development produced findings that cut through the noise and identified exactly what the problem with screens actually is for very young children. It is not the light. It is not the content in isolation. It is the pace. And it is what screens replace. Here is the first part. Young babies, particularly under 18 months, have not yet developed the cognitive capacity to transfer what they see on a 2-dimensional screen to 3-dimensional understanding of the real world. Researchers call this the video deficit effect. A baby can watch a simple action demonstrated on a screen dozens of times and still not be able to replicate it with a real object the way they would if they had seen a real person demonstrate the same action once in front of them. The screen is not teaching what it appears to be teaching. The brain is not processing the 2-dimensional image the same way it processes the real 3-dimensional world. The learning simply does not transfer in the same way. The second part is about what screens replace. Picture this. Your baby is sitting in their bouncy chair while a video plays on a tablet in front of them. The video is colorful, fast-moving, and designed to hold attention. And it does hold attention. But while that attention is held by the screen, something is not happening. Your baby is not looking at your face and sending a serve. You are not responding with a return. The back and forth that builds language pathways, that wires the social reward system, that develops emotional regulation, that is not happening. Not because screens are toxic, but because screens are taking up the time and attention that would otherwise go toward the interactions that build the brain. A landmark study led by Dr. Christakis and published in JAMA Pediatrics measured the impact of background television on parent-child interaction in the first years of life. What they found was striking. For every hour of background television in the room, parent-child verbal interaction dropped by approximately 770 words and 200 vocalizations. The parents were not doing anything wrong. They were simply less likely to initiate serve and return interactions when a screen was present in the environment. The screen was not damaging the brain directly. It was crowding out the interactions that build it. The distinction matters enormously. Because it means the question to ask about screens is not simply how long. It is what is this replacing? So what does this mean for your actual home starting today? 3 things. Practical, grounded in the science, and free of guilt. The first is this: treat screens as a context question, not a time question. The research does not say that 30 minutes of screen time damages a baby's brain. It says that screen time that replaces serve and return interaction is the thing to watch. So instead of counting minutes, ask a different question each time a screen comes out. Is this replacing a moment of connection that could be happening right now, or is this allowing a necessary break that makes me a more present parent in the next hour? A screen that gives an exhausted parent 20 minutes to regroup so they can return to full engaged interaction is doing something different to your baby's development than a screen that runs for 3 hours while no one talks to the baby. Context matters more than duration. The second is, if screens are on, try to be in the interaction. Video chatting with a grandparent is specifically exempted from the AAP guidance because it preserves the one thing that matters most: a real human face responding in real time to your baby's signals. You cannot replicate that with recorded content. But you can approximate it by being present when screens are on. Narrate what is on the screen. Point at things. Respond to what your baby looks at. Transform passive screen watching into something that has elements of the serve and return dynamic. It is not the same as a screen-free interaction. But it is substantially better for brain development than passive watching with no adult involvement. The third is, protect the first 30 minutes after your baby wakes up from a nap. This is when the brain is most alert, most ready to engage, and most receptive to the serve and return interactions that build language and cognitive architecture. It is the highest value interaction window of the day. Screens in this window cost more than screens at any other time because they are displacing the highest quality learning opportunity available. Wake up, interact, connect, respond, and let the screen wait until after that window has been used for what only you can provide. No screen gives your baby what you give them. Not because screens are the enemy, but because screens do not look back. They do not notice when your baby's attention shifts. They do not respond to a coo or a pointed finger or a moment of confusion. They do not adapt to what your specific baby needs in this specific moment. You do all of those things. And those things are the ones that build the brain. Screens are not the problem. Missing the moments is. The fact that you felt guilty about screens before watching this, and that you wanted to understand rather than just feel bad, says something true about the kind of parent you are. You are not looking for permission or condemnation. You are looking for information. And that impulse to seek understanding over judgment is exactly what your baby's brain needs most from you. Carry this with you today. The question is never simply how much screen time. The question is, what is the screen replacing, and what happens in the moments around it? Ask that question and you will always make the right call. If this gave you a more useful way to think about screens and your baby, subscribe to MotherCode. Every week we release new science-backed videos about what is really happening inside your child's developing mind, explained simply, without guilt, without overwhelm. A quick like helps other parents find this when they need it most. Until next time, put the screen down when the moment calls for you. Your baby knows the difference.